What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another 10 in 10 video. Yes, that is right. The 10 in 10 series is coming back for the time being. If you don't know what the series is, it's basically just where I talk about 10 films in roughly 10 minutes. It never lasts 10 minutes, but I try to do it in 10 minutes. I was going through my video history, and I was putting the older videos into a playlist, and apparently I haven't done one of these since like 2013, I think January 2013, so it's almost been 3 years since I've done one. So, but that's what it is. It's simply where I just talk about 10 films in 10 minutes. So without further ado, let's get right into this. Computer Hearts, a short from 2015. I picked this one up at Calgary HorrorCon this year. This one is a short film directed by Turner Stewart, who also stars in it and wrote it. It's basically about, his character where, him and his wife are having like some major issues and stuff like that. And he works at home, so he's at home a lot, and his wife is starting to get kind of annoyed with him because he spends way too much time on his computer, not necessarily working. The thing is, he is actually kind of fell in love with this computer animated girl named Vanessa too. And it starts to cause a lot of problems between him and his wife even further. And they start to have, almost break up and things like that. But then when, she comes back and, Vanessa too starts getting a little jealous, shit starts getting out of control. Yeah, there's two cuts of the short on this Blu-ray here. One is 26 minutes, the other one's 42. They're both really good cuts. The 26-minute version is really just a condensed version of the 42-minute. In the 42-minute one, it just kind of shows you more of like, the transitions and stuff, like what happens. Because you do have a little bit of questions in the shorter version. But this one gets crazy, man. Really, really crazy fucking gore and wild shit. Like shit I've never seen before in a film. It's pretty unique and pretty wild and shit like that. So, if you could possibly get your hands on this, I definitely recommend checking this out. It's actually one of the better, short films I've seen in such a long time. I know this one was only limited to like 75 copies, so, but I think that there is another pressing of it out or something like that. But Computer Hearts, awesome stuff from Vancouver. The guy that directed this tour, Turner Stewart, actually did effects for Gutterballs 2, which unfortunately I'm not sure if he's actually going to be, if his, scenes are going to be used in Gutterball 2, because I know Ryan's recutting it. But anyways, Computer Hearts, good stuff. I gave that one like roughly a 7 out of 10. Next up is a 2015 film called Pod. And this one right here is about a brother who gets, he gets word that his brother is, at their family vacation home, all kind of locked away and having some real mental issues. So the one guy, he goes and finds his sister, and they travel out to their family home, getaway home, where he is the one brother who's like ex-military and stuff. He's basically stashed himself away inside this house, and he's claiming that, the military was doing all sorts of, experiments on him and stuff like that. And he also claims that he has something in the basement to prove that, the military is involved in a bunch of shady shit and stuff. He's just ranting and raving and going fucking batshit crazy. Of course, the brother and sister that showed up there, they're not 100% convinced that, that his accusations are true. And he continues to, freak out, and he tells me he's got something in the basement, that he saw something and he has something locked in the basement. And of course, and I'll just leave it right there. But, this one wasn't actually that bad. I thought it was actually pretty atmospheric for what it was. It's a little tedious to watch with, the brother, the ex-military guy that's just going off and off and on. His performance is just crazy over the top and kind of wild and stuff like that. But, it's not that bad. It runs really short. I remember this film it just felt like it ran, it's not even 80 minutes long. So it goes by really quick. I did kind of like the end. I think they did set it up for a sequel and stuff like that. So I don't know. It was decent though. I give this one like a 5.5 out of 10. It was nothing special. It wasn't terrible or anything. I just wanted more from it. That's really what I wanted, was just more. So there's a really cool cameo from Larry Feddersen in this at the end of the film. But yeah, I did like the setting though. Very snowy setting. Very cool stuff. Yeah. Moving into like another 2015 film here is called Hidden. This one right here was a pretty interesting film. This town gets an evacuated siren. They get the word that they need to evacuate. So the whole town starts evacuating. And this family here, consisting of, a husband, wife, and their daughter, they're kind of late to the show, and once they're making their way out of town, they see everyone turning back around. So everyone from the town starts heading back to the city because they were told to do that. Of course, they don't conform to that, and they stick around, to where, the outskirts of the town is. And it's a good thing they did, because they watched the town get bombed by military. They blow up the entire city and kill everybody. Of course, they survive. The military doesn't really know that. They end up finding this bunker where this bunker's like all full of food and just, all the amenities to live and things like that. And they set up shop in there, and where they, where they've been surviving for about a year and things like that. And they, the thing is that they're down there surviving, but they can't leave it because there's like all these type of walkers, these people that are all diseased and infected that are up above and stuff. So they're just trying to make do down there and stuff. And very atmospheric, good performances in this, I thought. For having such a small cast, I thought it was pretty well done, to be honest. And it has a pretty interesting twist. I thought the end of this film was actually pretty good, and I didn't really see it coming. I didn't really know where this one was going at first. And but I thought it was really well done. I give this one mad props. And they do kind of set it up again for a sequel and stuff, which I could totally see them making a sequel to this film. But yeah, it was pretty good, man. I definitely recommend this one. I give it about a 7.5 out of 10. Next up is Exeter, or however you want to pronounce it. This is basically a possession film. It's got the same old kind of setup to it, where a bunch of students, high school kids, they go into this abandoned asylum, throw a huge ass party. The next morning, they're, decide to continue the party, start doing some drugs, drinking, and things like that. And they start to, they get this crazy idea that they want to do like some type of seance. But anyways, that goes horribly wrong. They conjure up some mad evil spirits, and people start getting possessed in the house. As stupid as the premise sounds, or as cliched as it sounds, it's actually not that bad. Some of the film is just filled with cliche characters and stuff like that, but honestly, some of the possession scenes are pretty crazy. I love the setting. It's a really, really dirty, like awesome, filthy, old abandoned asylum. And it's got some twists and turns in this one too that I thought were actually pretty well executed. Not overly mind-blowing, but very, very entertaining, I will say. Some pretty gory scenes in this also, which was a fucking total bonus. Not CG'd and stuff like that, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, not a bad film. I give this one about a 6.5. It's nothing special, it's, there is times where, you do get kind of annoyed, especially with like things having to do with technology. I'm not a big fan of like using technology into these type of films. That's why I'm a big fan of older films where they don't have cell phones and, iPads and stuff to look up, how to do exorcisms. Like there's a scene in the film that happens and I'm just like, oh my God. But overall, not that bad. Next up, from Scream Factory, is Backcountry. This one right here, it's a very simple premise. It's based on the Canadian story that happened a few years back. It's basically about a couple that heads out to the woods. The boyfriend's a very experienced camper, the girl is not, and they head out to the backcountry. He's got an ulterior motive. He wants to propose to his wife, and he's kind of showing off a little bit. They go out there, and he doesn't bring a map, and he's convinced that, he knows exactly where the spot that he wants to go to is, but unfortunately, he doesn't really know. He gets lost, and now they're stuck out in the backcountry, and of course, a bear starts attacking, and shit goes down from there. The film itself wasn't overly that bad. I thought it was really, really well acted. I thought it was shot beautifully. I love how they went deep into the forest and did all that, and the fact that they used real bears in this too was a bonus also. The thing that kind of bugged me about this film is that I know the real story because it happened in Canada, not where I live, but I know the story, and I wish that they had to use that story. This is basically based on that story, but I wish they had to use that real story because I think that story, the real life story, is more interesting than what happened in this film. Even though it's probably a little more better for film, but who knows? I think that the original story is just a lot better than this one. But with that said, this is still not a bad film by any means. I actually kind of really enjoyed it, and it's not mind blowing or anything. But I give this one like a 5.5 to 6 out of 10. It wasn't that bad, so good transfer. Next up here, Bloodsucking Bastards from Scream Factory also. This one right here is a horror comedy. Basically how I would describe this one would be, Office Space meets a vampire film. It's exactly what it is. It's set in an office. You know, it's like a telemarketing company or something like that, whatever. But anyways, their business is just suffering bad. They're doing really bad. Your main character is expecting to get this promotion to, you know, sales manager. He doesn't get the job. He gets passed over. They bring in this guy from the outside. And of course, this guy from the outside is actually a vampire. And his goal is to turn everybody, all the employees, into vampires so they kind of conform to his ways. And, you know, that'll make business go better and stuff like that. But it just goes haywire. It goes fucking batshit crazy. Lots of great fun characters. Lots of good one-liners. Really surprising gore in this. It was just a fucking fun time all around. You know, I can see why people do hate on these type of movies, but I thought this one was like chock full of fun laughs and, you know, like I said, fun characters. And that's what it makes. I love the security guard in this film. He cracked me up. The guy that's drinking Red Bull, shotgunning Red Bull and stuff. Oh man, so funny. But yeah, there's some really good scenes in this film, and I'll definitely be revisiting this one soon. I give this one like a 7.5, maybe like 8 out of 10. So Bloodsucking Bastards, good film. Next up here is Descort Service from the Sleazebox, and this one is basically just about, you know, someone that's hunting down hookers and slashing and killing them. So it's pretty much what it is, and this person's of course out for revenge because something has happened to them. You know, this one is super low budget. It's really, really terribly acted. It's not even that well shot. It's actually poorly edited at times. But I will say the gore is fantastic. The effects are done by Marcus Koch in this, and it's pretty entertaining. The soundtrack to this movie is fucking awesome. Really, really great original score to it. It almost kind of reminds me at times of The Beyond, which is really strange. It has a total Italian influence into the soundtrack in this one. You know, it has everything what you would expect. Bad acting, and it has, of course, you know, like I said, lots of gore and stuff, but it has, like, you know, some pretty obscene scenes in this, like hardcore nudity. There's tons of nudity, of course, because they're dealing with hookers and sex and stuff, but there's one scene in this film that I'll just say baseball bat is fucking crazy, actually. Descort Service, you know, at first I was just like, oh my god, man, like Crystal Pixie Adams is just the worst actress in the world. I have to say that, but this one right here, really, really fun film. You know, I give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely not for everybody. You know, definitely not for everybody, for hardcore low budget fans, but fun stuff. Next up here is Army of Frankensteins. Basically about a guy that, you know, just kind of shit the bed with his girlfriend, and unfortunately, you know, he's leaving work one night and he gets jumped and beat down. He wakes up in this laboratory where this mad scientist is just taking out his eye, and he's got this like child kind of sidekick with him. And, you know, they basically tell him, like, you know, we needed your eye to complete this Frankenstein that he's working on. This mad scientist is working on this Frankenstein. He's taking parts from like all these different type of people. Anyways, something goes crazy in the lab, and he ends up hitting this switch to this this generator, this kind of, and he opens up this vortex porthole, or you know, time port, and it sends him back in time. But before, you know, him and Frankenstein and the kid get sent back there, it actually multiplies all these Frankenstein, or the Frankenstein, into like 40 or 50 of them, and it sends them back into the Civil War time where the North and the South are fighting, and now they've got to do battle in the Civil War. It's a pretty ridiculous premise, but actually pretty fun. My main problem with this film is that, you know, it's way too fucking long. It runs almost about 2 hours. It's just incredibly way too long. But, you know, it is fun. There is a lot of good laughs in this. It's a really stupid premise, but there's some good kills. It's got some CG in there, but it's got some, you know, practical kills and stuff like that too. But I say give this one a chance. It's actually a lot funner than I was anticipating it to be after watching the trailer. I was like, I actually watched this trailer because I had no intentions of even watching it really. But Army of Frankensteins, it's a lot better than I was anticipating to be. 6.5 out of 10. Pretty fun stuff. Next up here from 1981 is Demonoid. Basically about these people that are doing this excavating, or they're working in this Mexican mine, and the workers there, of course, they don't want to go into this mine because they heard that it has like some type of curse on it. So they decide to go into the mine themselves, and they open up this, you know, this ancient curse. And this hand escapes, and it basically starts possessing other people's left hands, and you got yourself a killer hand film, basically, is essentially what it is. This one is actually a lot of fun. I love killer hand films. I don't know what it is about killer hand films, but they're so much fun. This one isn't mind-blowing or anything, but it's a lot of fun, I have to say. The hand looks great running around, and there's just a lot of like ridiculous scenes with people like trying to cut their hands off instantly and stuff when they're, you know, after being possessed and shit. It's just like, what? You know, you might want to give that a little more time, but Demonoid, I had a lot of fun with this. You know, it is what it is, man. It's a killer hand film. There's not really much more to it. I give this one like a solid 7, though. It was a fun film. And last up for this 10 and almost 15 minutes is The Pyramid from, I think, last year, 2014. I'd heard, you know, a lot of bad things. I heard some decent things about this one. Basically just about a bunch of archaeologists that discover a new pyramid in Egypt, and they start doing the excavating. They wind up inside of it. They're doing like a documentary style type, you know, filming for this thing. They end up inside with no way out, and they start to discover some really, you know, kind of evil shit that's going on inside the pyramid. Now they have to get out because, you know, or else they're gonna fucking die pretty much. You know, this one, I really like the setting, man. I like the premise, you know, I like, you know, those documentary type feel films and shit like that. But this one right here, didn't really, you know, it's got its moments. It's got its moments. The setting and things like that. Some of the kills are okay and stuff. I just find it kind of loses its direction towards the end of the film. And it's, you know, not because, like, you know, the bad CGI, the bad effects and stuff like that do happen at the end of the film. I just feel like there could have been more to it. Maybe like a better explanation. I don't know. There was something that was really bugging me about this, but it wasn't overly that bad. It was entertaining enough. I was not bored throughout any of the film, which was a good thing. You know, the setting alone kept me, you know, very intrigued and stuff. I give this one about a 6 out of 10, so. But yeah, The Pyramid. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for volume 15 episode. Yeah, this is 10 and 10, volume 15, I believe, if I stand corrected. I think it is 15, though. Anyways, guys, I'll be back sometime with another one. Hope to see you guys then. Peace out.